Hello, Quincy. My name is Djuna Perkins, and I'm running for District Attorney in the primary on September 1st. When I was 2 weeks old, my mother, suffering from severe postpartum depression, died by suicide. 4 months later, my father was stabbed during a riot in New York City and nearly died. No one even bothered to look for his attacker. In the wake of those two events, my childhood was quite chaotic. There was poverty, neglect, drug abuse by the adults in my home. I got food stamps, free lunch, and a Pell Grant. I've had relatives who have gone to state prison and served time in juvenile detention. And sometimes the people who were supposed to be taking care of me were the ones who caused the most harm. And that's why I decided to become a lawyer, to be the voice for others I hadn't had for myself as a child. That's what I've been doing for 33 years, fighting for justice for victims of crime all over Massachusetts. First as a prosecutor for 10 years in the Attorney General's office under Scott Harshbarger, where I served in the Narcotics and Special Investigations Unit in Superior Court, in the Brockton District Court Safe Neighborhood Initiative, and in the Appeals Unit. I then went to the Suffolk County District Attorney's office under Ralph Martin, where in my last role I served as the chief of the Domestic Violence Unit with responsibility for all domestic violence cases in Suffolk County. I also served as the supervisor of Dorchester District Court, which is one of the largest trial courts in our state, and also as a member of the homicide response team. I've supervised dozens of staff and thousands of cases. For the last 20 years, I've been in private practice. The first half I spent representing victims of crime in civil litigation against institutions like the Catholic Church for childhood sexual abuse and sexual harassment and discrimination in the workplace. I also represented the family of the victim of alleged Craigslist killer Philip Markoff, the medical student who lured a young woman to his hotel room in Boston and killed her in an attempted robbery. And I also wrote an amicus brief, a friend of the court brief, to the Supreme Judicial Court that helped preserve an important evidence rule in sexual assault cases. For the last 13 years, I've had my own practice in Dedham, where I live with my husband and 3 adult children. My husband is a longtime Milton Public Schools teacher and proud MTA member. My practice for the last 13 years has focused on conducting investigations as an outside consultant to institutions, K-12 schools, colleges, universities, private workplaces, nonprofits, municipalities, and police departments. Probably the most high-profile case I investigated was for the Concord, New Hampshire public schools, and that investigation resulted in the license removal and termination of the superintendent of schools and the high school principal who had failed to recognize signs that a teacher was having sex with students. I also represented a woman who was sexually molested by her fertility doctor, and that case disclosed a 10-year pattern of sexual abuse of patients by this doctor. So based on my personal experience of injustice, as well as my professional experience, because I learned from the very best prosecutors there ever have been, because of those experiences, I knew that when I saw the failure of the district attorney to prosecute the murder of Sandra Birchmore, I knew that I could not sit by and do nothing, because any experienced prosecutor would have understood that that was a murder, and if we cannot speak for the most vulnerable among us, what are we doing? So I started to criticize the district attorney in the Boston Globe and in Massachusetts Lawyers Weekly, but by September of 2024, I realized that this was a pattern that was not going to change, so I decided to challenge the district attorney. I didn't wait for an easy opportunity after he had decided to retire. I did it because it was the right thing to do, and because I know how to prosecute. I know how to prosecute crime. I was not only the first in the race, I was also the first to call for the district attorney's resignation after the near acquittal of Karen Reed last year. I'm also the only candidate who has pledged to prosecute ICE for excessive use of force and unlawful detention when circumstances warrant. And in the past 2 years, I'm thrilled to have earned the support of dozens of elected leaders and activists and grassroots organizations all over the county, including right here in Quincy, City Councilors Virginia Ryan and Deborah Ann Riley. I've also earned the endorsements of my former bosses, Scott Harshbarger and Ralph Martin, and many other industry professionals, because they know that I'm the right candidate to bring reform, integrity, and professionalism and justice to Norfolk County. Please vote for me on September 1st.